You're listening to Blue Collar CEO, the podcast that's all about helping you build a better, more profitable, and more sustainable home service business. Each week, we'll cover a different topic that will help enable your company to move forward to success. And here's your host, Ryan Redding.
What is up, Blue Collar CEOs? It's Ryan. It is awesome to be with you today. Hey, if you haven't yet, please, pretty please, take a second, leave us a review wherever you're listening. I don't care if you've listened to one episode or over 100. And we've had over 100 episodes. That's kind of crazy. I'm sorry, that's kind of crazy. I digress. Wherever you're listening, leave us a review. It's really important for me personally to know that we're giving you content you like, stuff that matters to you. I see the stats. I see more and more people every week are downloading the show. More and more people every week are listening longer and longer and longer. I would love to see what the show means to you and how it's helped you grow your business. So just leave a review wherever you are. You could also send us feedback for ideas you want to have or hear about or guests you want to have on. info@BlueCollar.CEO. Just shoot us a note because I will definitely want to make sure we always give you content that you love. I'm getting ready to introduce you to Stephanie Allen. So Stephanie, here's the deal. She wears many hats. She's a visionary. She's a business leader. She loves providing opportunities to elevate lives. She's a mom, a wife, a friend. She's an optimist, a strategist, a patient teacher. If you were to kind of summarize it in just one word, she's kind of a badass. You have probably seen her company everywhere, Airworks Heating and Cooling. They've gotten more and more traction, especially on Facebook over the past couple years. We're going to be talking a lot, but we're going to be talking a lot about, for her husband and wife, they run the business together. So her husband and herself are both leading this business that they started in 2010. So we're going to be talking a lot about their story, about how the lessons from the business influence their family and vice versa. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and especially talking about the role of leaders that Stephanie says is important for her. So let's get going. All right, Stephanie, I feel like I've seen you everywhere lately, which is kind of creepy sounding, I guess, but there it is. Let's just get out in the open, get it over with. But I'm really, really excited to get talking to you. But I guess before we get started, for those who don't maybe know who you are yet, let's just start there. Who are you? What do you do?
Sure. I'm Stephanie, and I am the owner of Airworks Solutions. And we do heating and air conditioning here in Southern California.
SoCal. What part of SoCal?
Ventura County area. I say we go from Santa Barbara to San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. So that's interesting. How long have you like had the business? How long you been doing this?
My husband and I, before he was my husband, started this business together in 2010.
Whoa, let's go back to something there. You started a business with somebody you were not married to on purpose?
I say that he proposed to me when it was good for business, because networking and marketing your boyfriend's business is totally different than networking and marketing your husband's business or your joint business.
Because now you feel like you have skin in the game, or because now you feel like you have to? Let's be honest.
I feel like there's a level of commitment that we're going to be together for the long run, and people can count on that. So Kevin and I have been together since we were 18. We've done all the things together, and he's been in HVAC since he graduated high school. I pursued other things. I went to graduate school, and he actually followed me from our hometown to Alabama because I did the whole "if you love me, you'll come." And he came, and that's when we figured out, hey, we can do this. And so we'd been committed and together for a long time before we decided to jump into business together.
Good for you. And I've got to ask, just because I'm curious, what'd you go to grad school for?
I'm an attorney and an MBA.
An attorney and an MBA?
Yeah.
So wait, you have a JD?
Yeah, I went to the University of Alabama on a full ride scholarship for law school. And so they were going to pay for 3 years. Law school wasn't enough for me, so I did my MBA in the same time. So I did both joint degrees.
Insane.
Yeah.
You are a crazy, weird person. Has anyone told you that today?
I'm good at academia. And Kev, because I got him to Alabama, he said, I only committed to 3 years of law school. So the program's normally 4 years. but I only had him for 3. So I did them both in 3. And we moved back to California to raise our eventual family with family and start our business.
That is insane. Good for you.
Oh,
Uh,
thanks.
I've only done the MBA part, and I know that's annoying and frustrating enough.
Don't say only.
I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine doing the legal portion also. Good for you.
It was fun together.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're like me, it's probably like, I don't think I would do that again. And I don't know why I did that then, but whatever.
I feel similarly now, but I'm sure all of that education serves me.
I I agree with that.
Yeah.
Or at least for me, I would say it's maybe not the education, it's the discipline. It's like knowing you can complete the tasks. Because academia, for those, if you're listening to this, you're like, I never went to college or whatever, totally cool. It's a lot of like making somebody else happy with like these arbitrary requirements that you're like, the real world doesn't work this way, bro. There's a whole lot of that. Um, and so yeah, I could not imagine it doing it in the domains you did. That's mad props. Mad
Thank
props.
you. Thank you. But what's really funny is my husband, who has a couple of classes at the junior college completed, mostly because maybe I helped him write some of those essays, if not all of them. Ultimately, he's the breadwinner, right? I mean, together we're doing this, but we followed his trade and his passion, and together we've made it a really solid business.
And that's the deal with the trades. Like,
Right.
it's a really, really smart option for so many people. It doesn't have to be traditional college. It does not have to be traditional education. I love that your husband, to your point, has been able to like follow his dream, like build this business. I love that you've been able to take your experience and come alongside, because obviously you bring strengths to the equation that he doesn't have. He has strengths to the equation that you don't have. Together, it's a peanut butter and jelly. Is that too cliche? Like,
We often say
it's
we're better together.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. 100%. So,
There's
okay,
no
so let's
way
talk
I'd be
about that.
running an HVAC company without him, and there's no way that he would have more than a couple of trucks without me. So, um,
And you never
together.
let him forget that, do you?
I don't have to say much about it.
I just kind of laud it over him from time to time. Um,
Not
what
true.
is it?
It's accurate.
I'm giving you grief. I like your. It's accurate. I'm giving you grief because look. I mean, for marriage is a difficult process to do well because it requires a lot of commitment, a lot of transparency, a lot of sharing goals and values. And for a lot of people, uh, some of those things can be difficult things. Like being married is hard, and there's a whole thing. Running a business is hard, especially building a team because you have all the same sort of challenges, having vision and goals and all these things you have to share in common. Now you're doing them together. What is it like being married to someone that you also are in business with? I can't imagine that your dinner table conversation and your pillow talk is super riveting.
It's hard and it's frustrating, but it's also exhilarating to be building this team together. So, Kevin and I are designing and building our entire life together.
Mm.
You know, and we're making it work for us. So we work a crazy amount of hours and we pour a lot into our team, but we also do that with our children and we're able to balance that. So I might work a really long day to day and not be able to pick up the kids, but he is able to do that. And luckily, we have his parents who are very involved in that process also. And so I often say, like, my kids don't miss out on anything. Maybe I miss out on them, but you know, our community, our tribe together here, make sure that our kids are well taken care of. Um,
Do you
but
ever?
go ahead.
Yep. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was going to say, like, back to the business. Not every day is fun, and we really often have to separate the fact that we are married and the fact that we are business partners, and be intentional about that separation. It's very easy to go back to business when we need to be husband and wifing.
Do you feel like you often, and you can blame your husband if you don't ever struggle with this, and it's totally fine to
Yep.
just lay it out and admit his shortcomings. Do you ever feel like you sometimes are tempted to pick up the wrong hat? So like you're in a business conversation, you have a business argument, you have a business decision that needs to be made, and you pull out the spouse hat. Or vice versa, you're trying to have a husband and wife decision and you pull out the business owner hat. Like, do you ever feel like sometimes you play the wrong card at the wrong time?
100%. But I think that you do that
Or
whether you're
Kevin?
in business or not.
Sorry, do you feel like Kevin does that? Is probably the better question.
Oh, it's probably more me than him. I mean, it's
Oh,
really easy for us to drift back into business, but in our business roles, I have become more of the leader, the CEO, really driving initiatives, and we're partners in home. And so that has to be different. Um, and he's doing a great job at helping complete those roles in both places. So it's not always easy. You know, the roller coaster goes up and down. Right now, we're in a really great patch, both business and personally. But you know, we're on the ride together, and we're committed to that.
do you? Okay, so here's. I guess this
But
is
I
getting a little
fire
bit
him
personal.
often.
You did what?
I said I fire him often, but he comes back to work the next
Apparently
day.
not very well. Yeah, you don't fire very well. Apparently,
Yeah,
you're supposed to scorch earth.
yeah.
You're like, yeah, one day. So, like, I did not intend for this to go like peek inside your marriage. It's such a fascinating dynamic, and I know people like Brent and Leslie Harpool come to mind. I don't know if you know them, but they're dear friends of mine. Um, they do it really, really well. Oscar and Cassie Pound, also dear friends of mine. They do it really, really well. I know, working in business with your spouse is not for everyone. I know it takes a unique person and unique partnership to make that work. And I'm always fascinated by people who can pull it off. Do you ever feel like negative energy and tension that you have at home, like bleeds over into business? Other people in the business are like, WTF, like fix this, like leave us out of it, or vice versa. That when the business is straining, you actually bring that home. That you notice it with your kiddos, like that whole thing. Like, do you notice that the negative energy also cross pollinates? And if so, what do you do to kind of limit that to the greatest degree you can?
Um, so I would say we bring business home more than we bring home into business. Before I get to that, I think some of the reason that we're successful and the same as the other couples that you mentioned is because we each identify our strengths. So I am not a technician. I am not mechanical. I know nothing in that realm. And so I leave that to Kevin to help me manage. He is not um, into finance and accounting, HR, operations, etc. So he leaves that to me, and then together we figure out how to make that work well. When I started working with Kevin, he was doing estimates on Post-its and pieces of cardboard that he would rip off of whatever he just installed, right? And so I helped him with technology to elevate to an Excel spreadsheet, and we've grown from there. So we're able, to work together in the why behind all of that. So then moving the conversation to energy, yes, it definitely bleeds into the home life. And sometimes we just have to sit back and look at each other and say, what are we fighting about? Like, where are we? What's the goal here? And I think it comes back to we've set up really strong values for both our business and our home life, and making sure that we're serving those.
Do you feel like they're the same values? Like, are there points where the values are different, or are they pretty much, hey, your personal values become the business values?
In a sense, there's definitely shared values there, because that's who we are. That was the foundation of our business. But it's more personal at home. So I figure if I serve Kevin first in my home, everything else will fall into place. Right. And if he serves me, he wants what's best for me at all times. He's making sure I'm refilling my cup. He's making sure that I'm taking care of myself. Then we both can come to the table together, because I'm not great at taking care of Stephanie, but I am fantastic at taking care of others. So we've challenged each other with that. He takes care of me, or makes sure that I do, and I take care of him. And so that's how we handle the personal. It's a little different than the business, where in the business, we're really making sure that we are serving our team, our community, and our customers to the highest level. Our mission is to elevate lives. And so we're elevating the lives of our team and our customers at all times. And that's paramount.
I really like that. I uh how does this influence the values you teach your kids? Like what does the way that this uh business and marriage relationship together, what does it teach your kids about the value of work, of communication, of shared goals? Like, what lessons is it that you hope that you instill to the family that you're growing?
I mean, some of this is an experiment that's still unfolding, but our kids see us work and our kids see us balance, and we talk about that a lot. Right now their job is school and they don't want to go every day. But we talk about how important that work is. And we do a lot of communicating with each other, a lot of problem solving. So we're really big. Mom and dad have 4 roles in our house, and that is to keep, and the kids know it, they can recite it back to us, to keep them safe, to keep them healthy, to make sure they're a good person, which is us talking about character, and then to teach them how to be problem solvers, not problem spotters. And so basically everything that we do in our home, we can distill back to one of those 4 goals of ours, and how we're communicating to them and what we're doing.
That's really cool. I yeah, just in the 15-ish minutes or so, like you've just like pulled back the curtain just a tiny bit over the way you and your husband navigate each other and care for each other and think about the business and how you approach it with your kids. I have a tremendous amount of respect for how you're thinking about navigating these, which is really, really cool. Okay, so here's a question. So you have all that clarity, you have all those things in place for your nuclear family. And I love the way you think about like, hey, your job is to take care of Kevin. Kevin's job is to take care of you. Not job, role, maybe, right? Like that's how you know you're working, you're at your fullest. Now you have a team. You have a business, it's growing, you have a team. Some of them are local, some of them are remote, I would imagine, like most things in this day and age. How is it that some of those things about caring for your team, caring for your leadership, how do those things get put into place, especially if they're not at your dinner table every night, that you can kind of rehash some of these lessons in person?
We truly believe that you have to care about the person first, right? And the person can't do their job well if they don't feel that care from you and feel supported. So our roles have evolved from task delegators to leader developers. So Kevin, when our team now describes him, I think someone said Airworks hype man. Like that's his job. He's out there cheerleading, hyping people up, coaching as he goes. It doesn't feel so much like a coaching when it comes from Kevin, because it's so natural. He's fantastic at the relationship building side. So our leadership is evolving with the business, and we're now able to have the room to do that. When you're
Mm.
small and it's just the 2 of you starting out and you're wearing all the hats and doing all the things, you aren't able to look back like down at your business to work on it. You're so busy
Sure.
working in it, And so that's changing and evolving. And in the last year, we've gotten to a place where we're like, dang, we've done good. Like we've set up a really strong foundation of managers, leaders in between us and our whole team that helps distill these same values and out to the rest of our organization. Can't do it alone. You just can't.
No, yeah, 100%. So how big is your company now as far as employees?
Now we're 29.
It's so interesting. Hearing you talk about that. And I remember, yeah, even for like our own business, like when we started approaching that size, it was like this, you're starting to like, at one point, to your point, I always use like sports metaphors because sometimes in stuff like this, it just makes things clear. Like when you're small, when it's just you and your husband, like you're playing golf. Like you're responsible for everything that happens. It's good, bad, whatever. It's your fault. Uh, and then you get a little bit bigger and like you're basketball. Cool. Everyone's still playing both sides of the ball. There's a lot of communication. Everyone's busy nonstop all the time. Blah. And then at some point you get like baseball. We might have some specialization. And then eventually you get like a football team where it's like your job is to run route and catch the ball. That's all you need to do. Run this direction, catch the thing in the air. And you can get that specialization. And each one of those like transition points is always this weird management growth opportunity where you have to like learn new leadership skills of how do you lead a basketball team? How do you lead a baseball team? How do you lead a football team? And it's funny because I just had a conversation earlier with Chad Peterman at Peterman Brothers. They're I don't know how many techs, 600 employee company in Indianapolis. But it was interesting. He was talking through all the reflections about like all the leadership changes required along the way at the various stages. And it's so cool though that you're building this kind of initial foundation to say, hey, it used to be like you're directly responsible for every tech and every CSR and everyone's happiness and engagement. And, are they happy with their job? Do they want to come to work tomorrow? To now it's like, no, now you're starting to transition your focus to leaders and developing those so that they can care for the rest of your team. It's such a cool thing to watch, like how you guys are structuring it right now. It sounds like you're doing it really, really well.
Thank you. We're just going through that at the moment. So we have someone that's been on our team for 9 years, and she was my right hand. She would do everything with me because it was just the two of us. And she was still kind of in that role and floundering. We weren't happy. She wasn't happy. And we figured out she was too general, right? There were no real metrics for success. And so she's just been promoted, if you will, to install manager. And she's crushing it because she's able to develop that culture within her team. She knows what she's responsible for. Really, and this comes back, running a business and parenting, they're so aligned, right? And so we're in these parenting classes and they talk about how boundaries really provide a sense of safety and security for your kids. It's the same thing in business. So when we set up job descriptions and we say, hit these KPIs, here are your goals, right? I give a lot of flexibility and freedom within that department, but ultimately setting up those boundaries, then they know what they're doing. They feel a lot better coming to work every day. You think it's easier to say, just do your best, right? And that's not true. Our team needs focus and the leaders need to come in and give that direction. It's up to the leaders to keep the beat of the song, right? So that's my job, is to really keep the beat moving in the right direction, and provide those boundaries for every member of the team to be successful.
So if that's, I love how you're saying like, hey, it's up to the leaders to keep the beat of the song. So does that mean in some ways you give a sense of structure to your team, almost like jazz? Like, hey, within these parameters, feel free to explore, feel free to experiment and augment, feel free to innovate as long as XYZ happens, thumbs
Yep.
up.
Yeah.
So yeah, more like jazz, less like, I don't know, classical. I don't know.
And it's amazing how often I'm surprised at the product that comes back.
Because it's better than you would have thought to do it.
100%.
Yeah. Here's something, and clearly you're not struggling with this, but I feel like a lot of times, especially, oh gosh, especially when people are learning to finally have leadership muscles as businesses grow, they struggle letting go of things, like struggle letting go of decisions, of responsibility, of letting other people carry their vision. And at some point, it just comes down to like, you have to have good people and trust them that they're going to do their job. Has that ever been a challenge for you and your husband to, as you bring people into your family, per se, to trust them to operate in your best interest and the company's best interest with the values you have in place? Or have you been like, just take this away from me, I don't care what you do at this point?
No, I mean, it's definitely been a journey and we've learned a lot along the way. So we've been doing this since 2010. We've learned a lot on the path. One of the things that stuck with me is that you have to allow everyone on your team to fail at their level, right? So my CSRs, if they fail to book a call, what are we talking about? The $85 diagnostic fee that they didn't collect. And then we correct and we move from there, right? At the next level, we're talking about install coordinators or service calls. We're talking about a $1,000 mistake, couple $1,000 mistake, right? Then you get up to the managers, and those are more expensive mistakes. And then really the big mistakes or opportunities happen up at Kevin and my level, right? But if we allow people to fail and learn at their level, then they're not so expensive, right? And you have to be prepared for all of that learning. And I tell my team all the time, I have no problem paying for this education if we learn from it, and we don't repeat it, right? So when we have failures that cost us, we just chalk that up to education, but I don't want to pay for it again.
Yeah, making one mistake once, totally cool. Making the
Right.
same mistake twice, it's a different conversation. And I like, this is something I know I had to learn, and it seems like you did not have the struggle of people learn through failure. They
Oh,
learn through making mistakes and then having to do the postmortem on shit. I did this wrong and this wrong. Next time I need to do this. And I was always quick personally to like jump in, prevent the mistake from happening, and in the process, starve them a learning opportunity.
yes.
So you don't have the struggle that I had.
Oh,
So
absolutely. I have that struggle.
well,
Absolutely.
I'm trying to make you look better and smarter than me. Come on,
I
give me a break,
appreciate that. But the
attorney
truth
person.
is, when you learn that when you volunteer to do everything, you actually are taking away opportunities from others, it makes you not feel compelled or the need to volunteer for everything. So it comes, back to my mother-in-law is a fantastic asset to our community. She does so much. But when she volunteers to do every job, she burns out and other people aren't able to rise to the occasion. So she has taught me also I don't have to be everywhere for everyone, that I'm giving other people the opportunity to step into that seat and to learn from it.
Hmm. Uh, you, the way that you think about leading your team and the similarities you draw with like raising your kids, like it's really insightful and really refreshing because I feel like how do I say this? There's a whole lot of people out there who are just really quick to be like, ah, read this book, go to this workshop, blah blah blah, and then like pound their chest and like, whoa. And I feel like there's a lot of thoughtfulness, there's a lot of like character work, there's a lot of intentionality behind the way you and Kevin are building your future that's really uncommon.
You
And I
I
have a lot of respect for that.
I really appreciate that. When you're in it, it doesn't always feel like that. Like we
That's
take
how
it
you
for
know you're
granted.
doing it right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Like seriously, like that's how you know you're doing it right. Yeah. If some so how about this? If somebody is listening to you now, maybe they work with their spouse because I know a chunk of people that do. But maybe they've seen the success you're having, they see the progress you're making, and they feel like you have some things to teach them. What are 3 or 4 sort of takeaways that somebody might have um to actually learn from the success or learn from your mistakes that you put into place? Like what sort of things could you give people right now looking for that?
Define your roles. Like,
Ooh, that's a good
number
one.
one, hands down, define what your job is and what your spouse's job is. And then when there's any type of conflict, how are we going to handle that?
Hmm.
And I think you have to trust that the other person has the best intentions at heart. If you are in a relationship where you can't say that you know your business partner wants what's best for the company, then I don't think that that's necessarily a great partnership. Right. And so I have the benefit of knowing that even if Kevin and I don't see eye to eye, our goals are the same. Our goals are aligned to do what is best for our family and for our team always. We just might not, the path might not be the same to get there, but our destination's the same. So, first, define the roles. That's really important. Another thing that we have learned is have a set time on your calendar where you're going to work through whatever you might need. But Kevin and I would push each other off of our calendar because we were dealing with so much going on in the business. And I don't know, I read somewhere that an hour of planning saves you 4 hours of execution later.
So wait, to clarify, because I want to make sure I understand, because it could be different things. Are you saying like plan your arguments? Or are you saying
No,
plan like, what are you saying?
we have 2 2-hour chunks on our calendar in a week that are our time to work through together whatever we need it to be. So oftentimes that starts with, okay, what's on your calendar this week? Where do you need help? Here's where we are with our DP goals, so our daily progress and our revenue goals. It looks like this department is struggling. What are we going to do there? And so we make sure that we have time together to map out our execution of our
Mm.
initiatives. And so
Is that only for business, or is that also for family?
we're not really good at separating it all right now.
Okay.
So we do both kind of
Okay, got it.
together because they play together. So, for instance, we're going on a trip for, I should shout them out, or Owings Corning in February, but we're taking our kids with us. So we have to figure out how are we navigating the business part? How are we doing the family part? Who's responsible for booking and communicating, etc. Kevin is our fire starter and I am the fire marshal. Like, I decide whether to fan that flame or to extinguish it. And once we figured that out, that really helped. And so that's another takeaway is figure out while you're defining these roles, like, what's your job with that information that comes from your
Hmm.
partner, right? And mine is, okay, great. Let's put a pin in that and work on that later because um, all of the ripple effects of whatever you're trying to put into place right now isn't going to work, or run with it, get that done. So, um, and we respect each other enough to make that work. I've let go of a
Yeah.
lot and made Kevin in charge of things, and a lot more gets done around here when he's pushing that initiative forward.
And he probably feels uh he probably feels validated that he owns that thing, right? So it totally makes sense. I is there a third thing? Because those are two really solid and really good umbrella points. Do you feel like there's a third thing of like, hey, if there's one more thing to put in place, put in like do this, but
I just think it's really important for small business owners, especially, to understand the value of their time and to know where they need to work. So other hats I wear. I'm a mom and a wife, right? And so I have all of these pressures of keeping up a household. Very early on, Kevin said, it is not the best use of your time to fold laundry. So we bring in help. And I think that's important for small business owners, really anybody, to know the value of your time and where your genius should be spent.
mm,
So it doesn't make me a bad mom that I don't fold all my kids' laundry, right? We have some help for that. Now, I know I do it, and I make sure that the soccer uniforms are ready. But at the same time, instead of having all of that pressure on me, I'm able to sit with my team and strategize next month.
Yeah. I, yeah. I think it's really cool how you're thinking about these things, how you make the priorities, how you like clarify the values. A lot of this really is just like there's shared values. You create alignment on these shared values. And once you have clarity there, it makes every other decision seem easier. Because right now you're not having to argue about what's important, what's not. Now it's just a conversation. It's just kind of working out kind of the minutia. Um, and clearly it's working really, really well for you. So if somebody wants to see like what Stephanie and Kevin are building, like check out airworksolutions.com. Obviously you guys are on Facebook. If somebody wanted to like talk to you, pick your brain, like ask questions about them, maybe stopping short of legal advice and marriage counseling tips, what's the best way for somebody to reach you?
Anybody can reach out to me via email at stephanie@airworksolutions.com.
Cool. I'll make sure that's
Yeah.
in the show notes. Stephanie, I am unbelievably proud of your success, and it sounds like the success could not be happening to a better family and better humans. I am 100% cheering for you. Keep up the great work. It's really, really awesome to have you on.
Thanks, Ryan. Happy to be here.
This episode was hosted by Ryan Redding, author of the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors, and founder of Leveragey, the digital marketing solution for serious home service companies. You can subscribe to Blue Collar CEO on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Visit us online at BlueCollar.CEO and find us on Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week with another awesome episode. See you soon.